In the world of business, competition, survival of the fittest, mano y mano, nice guys do finish last. You must be able to tap into that dark side. And when I reference the dark side, I don't mean it in a schizophrenic clinical way where you're having multiple personalities. I'm referencing the point that you must recognize or understand or find that you have this inherent genetic survival instinct where you have to become a beast. Bam. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Yun Win, also known as the Prolific Ninja or just Ninja. And as my friends call me that, you all, my listeners, can call me that too. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the beginning to the end, the alpha to the mega, talking about business, life, motivation, inspiration, entrepreneurship, offering morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Glad to be back in the Bohemian Studios here, recording another podcast, hopefully that you all enjoy and find value in. And as always, if you do find pleasure, enjoyment, value, learn something, made you laugh, whatever, please do like, share, comment, and follow on all platforms at the N2N Podcast, N2N Podcast. That's the only way we are growing our audience right now, and I am so thrilled that we are continuing to grow our audience. We're over 5,000, almost 6,000 followers on all platforms, thousands and thousands of hours of views, and I am very thankful and appreciative and grateful for everyone that's followed me along this journey and is on this ride with me. So please do like, share, and comment. As always, we've integrated something new. If you have a topic or want me to talk about or share some ideas on any specific question you have, please do send it in to ask at the N2N podcast.com. Ask at the N2N podcast.com. I'm going to share something about you, kind of personal. So when I was growing up, I was a huge comic hero fan. Huge. Not too surprising, but yeah, when I was in elementary school, my favorite cartoon was Super Friends, the old school Super Friends. And so the thing that attracted me to comic book superheroes was the idea that you could be kind of have a noble intent, but still kind of kick ass, right? And these superheroes, obviously the good guys side. So back in the day, they had the Super Friends and then the Legion of Doom, the good guys, bad guys, light versus dark, etc. But what attracted me to the good guys side was that they all had this noble intent: save the world, prevent evil, and all these things. And my favorite superhero of all was, you may not guess it, but Batman. Batman, see, if you think about Batman, he was the only mortal superhero. He was just an average everyday dude just with a lot of money. He obviously had, used that money in comic book lore, obviously not in real life, but he used that money to develop technologies to help him face his fear of avenging his parents' murder, okay? But he didn't just rely on that. He relied on himself. In the comic book tale, he went off to distant lands and learned various martial arts and all of these things once he found himself before he came back to Gotham. And so I'm kind of geeking out for some of y'all if you all don't know this, but kind of tells you where, I'm a little bit of a geek. But with respect to Batman, though, he was mortal. At any given time, he could die. He was human just like you and me. Versus like Superman, who, he's indestructible. Wonder Woman, all these other comic book heroes. He was the only one that was a regular person. And the reason I'm telling you this is, like I said, these superheroes were able to combat evil not by being nice, but by being equally brutal and combative as the bad guys. Let me repeat that again. These superheroes, obviously it's fictional and in comic book lore, but there is an analogy to real life. These superheroes were able to combat evil with force, with brutality, with fight. They didn't kill these villains. That's why they have every episode coming back. Their one rule was you cannot kill them for whatever reason. But they had to fight force with force. Now, how does that apply to this podcast about success, entrepreneurship, motivation, and all these things? Well, Jordan Peterson talks about a lot. The great Tim Grover, who, if you don't know, was a trainer to Michael Jordan and a lot of elite level championship winning athletes. Got couple great books out called Relentless and Winning. But he talks about it. He talks about the dark side. Jordan Peterson talks about demons or being a beast. Joe Rogan talks about it. But, a lot of people talk about the dark side of being a successful person. And we all must be able to tap into that dark side, okay, to be successful. Because what happens is that in order to become elite, you will have competition. You will have negative things happen to you. You will have criticism. You will have all these things slinging arrows at you. And you cannot defend your psyche, your spirituality, your energy, your vibe, your actions by simply being nice. We all have, if you're true to yourself, we all know we have this side to ourselves that we may not like, that requires you to rely on survival instincts, to become a beast when you have to become a beast. The expression is, I think Rogan requoted it from Peterson. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. I'll repeat that. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Because to get to that level, you're going to have to fight battles. I have to fight battles figuratively in court. I have to fight battles figuratively to advocate for my clients in my law firm. I have to fight battles to analyze and compete against competition in these other businesses that I have. This is warfare in a figurative sense. It is warfare. And in order to win, the expression, nice guys finish last, becomes very, very true. Again, in the world of business, competition, survival of the fittest, mano a mano, nice guys do finish last. You must be able to tap into that dark side. And when I reference the dark side, I don't mean it in a schizophrenic clinical way where you're having multiple personalities. I'm referencing the point that you must recognize or understand or find that you have this inherent genetic survival instinct where you have to become a beast. Okay? And when I say the dark side and the beast, there's a subtle difference. I don't mean like you got to go around puffing your chest all the time and just putting everybody down, stomping on people just to get ahead. And that is not what I'm talking about at all. That, in fact, is the opposite. I like to call it being a compassionate alpha, okay, which has some characteristics for both men and women that I'll talk about in a minute. But let me first address why people are not successful as it relates to finding that beast or dark side or survival instinct or being that compassionate alpha for success in business and in life. One is that they might not even know they have this instinct. They have not been pushed to the brink of survivability to understand that it has to come out. It has to come out to conquer. That's survival of the fittest. That's human nature. That's mother nature. So A, they may not even know that it exists. Alternatively, they know that it exists, but they haven't defined it to know how to tap into it, to pull it out when you need to. Okay? Or C, finally, they know that it's there, they know how to tap into it, but they are afraid of what it represents in them if it comes out. Can they control it? Can they harness it? Can they utilize it? Or do they just go crazy and, explode? Different personalities until you know how you yourself individually carry or display this beast mentality. Okay? And so the challenge here is, how do you find it, or how do you recognize it, or how do you understand that dark side within you? And what is the source? For me, that dark side comes from a sense of having to prove myself ever since I was little. Because again, understanding my background, we immigrated from Vietnam here after the war. We had to culturally assimilate, which at that time was very challenging, especially for me growing up in the 70s here. There was still a lot of racism, not a lot of Asians in our community, in school, whatever, what have you. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, so constantly trying to prove myself, which slowly developed this inherent, ingrained psyche of stepping it up when I need to prove not that I could only belong, but prove that I could be the best at whatever it is. And so turning a negative into a positive. People find that beast mentality in a multitude of ways. Sometimes, unfortunately, it is literally survival of the fittest, and sometimes in inner cities. I know many listeners sometimes are in socially, economically challenged areas. And so they literally have to survive. So as nice as you want to be, and as loving as you want to be, they have to rely and know that they got this mentality of, hey, if I need to go on the offensive and go on attack, I can harness that just to survive. Okay, so you'll have to find that. And what that requires is taking time to know yourself. And we've talked about this in my other podcasts where, meditation, journaling, being less distracted, spending that time to know who you are, to know how you can harness that dark beast mentality coming through. Okay? Another way to find it, or another way to learn how to control it or use it, is participating in certain athletics or sports or disciplines where it is a solo event. Not like basketball or football or softball where you have other people you can rely on, but events or athletics or things where it's just you versus somebody else, where there is consequence. So I always emphasize the martial arts. My parents put my brothers and I in Taekwondo. I think I was 8 years old. Not because it was cool or anything. It was because my parents were always away, doing 3 or 4 jobs at the time. It was for us to be able to handle ourselves, take care of ourselves during a racially charged time, as it related to Asians back then, or South Vietnamese. They wanted to make sure we were able to take care of ourselves. And so they enrolled us in martial arts, and by the time I was 12, I had been certified black belt. I don't say that to brag or anything. I just tell you the facts as they are. But what that taught me at a very young age was a lot of things. And parents, or those of you who are mentoring or have kids in their mid-youth all the way to teens, I highly encourage you to enroll your kids into some type of martial arts, because it instills discipline. Discipline in terms of mastering your craft. B is that it instills principles like respect, principles like patience. But most importantly, as it relates to this podcast, it's a one-on-one event. So as you graduate these levels of martial arts, it teaches you that it's just you. You have to accomplish certain things, develop to a certain level to graduate to the next belt, to the next belt, to the next belt in order to get to black belt. But along this process, as you're developing your martial arts skills, you're learning combat. You're learning combat. And when you spar at tournaments or at practice against other fellow martial artists, it's either you're punching somebody in the face or you're getting punched in the face. And in a controlled environment, that's about as survival as you can get. You're either inflicting harm or you're on the receiving end of harm. There's no calling timeout. There's no wait, I'm not ready. Or there's no, I'm too nice, I can't throw a punch back. You got to learn how to punch and kick back. If not, you're the one getting punched and kicked, and nobody enjoys that feeling. Okay? So for me, having been exposed to that environment at a very young age, that type of pugilistic activity where you're either attacking or you're getting attacked helped me find that inner beast mentality in order to be able to bring it out. And the last thing I'll say about martial arts at a young age is that when I say that compassionate alpha, it really teaches you to be disciplined in your emotions. Because what they will, if you go to any legitimate school, they will tell you that once you've learned the martial arts, you actually have to be more peaceful. You actually have to turn the cheek a little more often because you know skills, you have skills that can really do harm to people. So you don't really want to, they teach you the discipline to hold back until that last moment where you have no other option before you rely on your martial art skills. Because because you have an advantage over the normal people that don't have knowledge of this discipline. So that leads me to the idea of being this compassionate alpha. Alpha is an expression for what I believe is missing in a lot of today's generation, is that mentality of standing strong for yourself. But when I say compassionate alpha, I mean, you'll have people that, a lot of these influence online, you got to be a beast, you got to, exert your influence everywhere you go and show that you're the man. I'm kind of the opposite of that. The compassionate alpha is the person, male or female, that knows they have it within them to protect themselves, to protect the ones they love, to pull that beast mentality and put up a fight when absolutely necessary. That's who I believe is that alpha kind of mentality. But you cannot let that rule your psyche and your demeanor. The compassionate side is equally important. So it's not just knowing and displaying that, another expression I like is unfuckable with. Besides displaying the idea that you're unfuckable with, you really have a heart to care for your fellow human being. You have that compassion to others less fortunate. You're there to help your community get better. You're there to help and mentor people to rise and lift themselves up. That's the compassionate part. But you offset that, or you balance that with the idea that you are literally unfuckable. There's nothing anybody can do to you or say to you that will put you on tilt or put you in an area where you're not in control of your mind and yourself. I think that is the epitome or the goal of what we're trying to achieve in this aspect, so that you can apply that to become a leader in business in reaching your goals. Because of me, for example, on my staff, I have to be forceful and let them know that, with respect to clients or other adversaries to our business, I have to be able to let my staff know that I can stand up to them. But at the same time, be compassionate for my staff because they are an extension of my family, so to speak. The work they put in helps my family grow as well. So it's the balancing of the two. Becoming that compassionate alpha is the goal here. Understanding that you are a warrior within. You have those survival capabilities. You have that fight, that grit to push back if necessary. Find that within yourself. And as you find this, or if you have found it and you're refining those skills to control it and pull it out of you when necessary, always keep that compassion in your mind. right? We are here to build a world of love and enlightenment and light. And so bringing that compassion out for your fellow human, understanding that when evil approaches, you have to be able to call upon that beast and let that beast out to protect yourselves, the ones you love, your community, and to survive. Become that compassionate alpha. Glad to be back in the studio. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did like it, found value, found entertaining, please do like, share, comment. Full episodes are on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, and Spotify. Just search at N2N podcast, N2N podcast. We're on all social media platforms. And as always, if you have any questions or want to get in touch with me, email me, ask at the N2N podcast.com. Ask at the N2N podcast.com. Looking forward to bringing you another episode very, very soon. What's up?